The series begins with a beautiful girl named Sion who is on a trip with her friends. She tries to call her twin brother to show him the sea and how beautiful everything is. And that's exactly what we need, dear viewer. Anyway, she asks him when he'll return to the city because he wants to tell her something important. Suddenly, someone enters his classroom. Their face isn't shown, and pushes him out of the window. Bam! Poor guy falls down hard. Of course, we all know what that means. He didn't make it. The call gets disconnected and Sion is left confused, but she doesn't think too much about it and enjoys the rest of her day. The next day, she participates in an archery competition. She's talented and manages to hit the target, but she's still worried about her brother and can't focus properly. Because of that, she ends up in second place. After it's over, she tries calling him again, but he still doesn't answer. We learn that Sion and her brother only have each other, as their parents abandoned them when they were little. That's why she's so deeply attached to him and loves him unconditionally. Then we meet a student named John. He works part-time jobs to support himself and to help treat his sick mother. After work, he visits her at the care home. She's happy to see him, but tells him to stop visiting and focus on his studies. He assures her that he's studying hard and promises to get into the university of his dreams to make her proud. Later that night, on his way home, John feels exhausted from overworking, gets into an accident, and passes out. Not only that, his motorbike gets stolen. Meanwhile, Sion returns to the orphanage she lives in and looks at old pictures of her and her brother from when they were kids. We see a flashback from 10 years ago, where a family adopted her brother and took him to live with them, while she had to stay in the orphanage. But she had promised him that they would reunite when they grew up. Back in the present, she decides to go to the city where he lives to check on him. The next day, she goes to his school and asks students about him, only to find out that, unfortunately, he has passed away. She breaks down in tears and attends his funeral. There, she meets the family who adopted him. The adoptive mother treats her badly and even blames her brother for what happened. Sion doesn't believe it and insists that it's impossible. She goes to the police station and meets the detective in charge of the case. She tells her she's sure her brother didn't do anything and that someone else is responsible. She even recounts the phone call they had before he died, but the detective apologizes and explains that there's no evidence to support her claims. The case is closed. Sion feels hopeless and spends the night crying, thinking of her memories with her brother. She's certain he didn't kill himself and decides to investigate the matter herself and bring the real criminal to justice. The next day, she says goodbye to her best friend and heads to the city her brother lived in. We then see John training in boxing at the gym. The coach notices his talent and tells him he could become famous. But John refuses, wanting to focus on school instead. Later, he sees that his stolen motorbike is up for sale and rushes to stop the deal. But when he gets there, Sion has already bought it from the thief. He approaches her and tells her the bike is his. She replies, "You mean it was yours? I just bought it and paid with my blood, sweat, and tears. Go deal with the thief who stole it from you." Then she leaves. John follows her and catches the thief trying to steal the bike again to sell it to someone else. He shouts, "Gotcha now. You're finished." He chases and catches him, then fights him using his boxing skills. But the thief has an accomplice who sneaks up behind and knocks John out. Just then, a car is about to run him over, but Sion sees it and rushes in to save him at the last moment. She gives him water to wash his face and says, "I just saved your life, so the motorbike is officially mine now. Are you a decent person or not? Let God bless me." The next day, Sion heads to her brother's school to begin her investigation into his death. On the way, she almost hits John with her bike, but manages to avoid him at the last second, crashing into trash bins instead. Her clothes get all dirty, and she tries to clean up, but it's no use. John, being a gentleman, takes responsibility and offers her his jacket before walking away. She's impressed by his kindness and starts to develop a crush. When she arrives at school, the students see her wearing John's jacket and assume she's his girlfriend, which starts rumors. She enters the classroom, introduces herself as the new student, and ends up in the same class as John. He's visibly nervous when he sees her. She returns his jacket in front of everyone, making things more suspicious. Another girl in the class, who likes John too, gets jealous. Sion begins her plan by befriending a girl from the archery club and asks her about the student who died, her brother. The girl says she heard that he was in a relationship with a popular student who was very close to him. Sion asks for her number and gets it. After school, she calls, but to her surprise, John answers the phone. She becomes suspicious and starts following him. She tails him to a hospital, but he senses someone's behind him. Luckily, a doctor calls out to him just in time. The doctor tells John his test results are in. He has a tumor and less than a year to live. John is devastated and begins to cry. Cyan overhears the whole thing and feels sorry for him. The next day, she notices he doesn't come to school and realizes he's still in shock from the doctor's news. But she decides to stay focused on her mission. She enters the classroom where her brother used to be before he died. She imagines him talking to her. Suddenly, John walks in. She's startled and asks what he's doing there. He says he just remembered something that happened in that room a while back. Cyan then realizes John was actually the one who told the police everything. He takes advantage of her interest and takes her to see his cat. He tells her that on the day her brother died, he was feeding his cat and saw everything that happened. He asks her, "If anything happens to me, please take care of my cat." Cyan is touched by his kindness and starts to believe he had nothing to do with her brother's death. At lunch, she goes to the school cafeteria, where she sees a student bullying a classmate for having short hair like a boy. Her friend tells her that everyone hates him, but he never gets punished because he's from a rich family. Later, when Cyan returns to class, she hears the bully talking badly about her brother. She gets angry, insults him, and almost gets into a fight, but the other students hold her back. Meanwhile, John goes to the hospital again, where the doctor tells him that due to his illness, he might experience mood swings and become aggressive. He gives him medication to help with the symptoms. She feels pain, and after school, she goes to get beaten up at the archery club. There, the coach sees her and asks her to become a trainer for a wealthy student named Young, since she's the most skilled archer. She agrees, but unfortunately, she's cold and harsh with him. After training, her friend tells her that Young had an accident and was in a coma for 6 months. When he woke up, he discovered that he had lost his memory. The doctor said that training might help him recover it. The friend asks her to go easy on him during training. Meanwhile, June goes to meet the famous student who used to be in a relationship with Cyan's brother. He returns her phone, and we learn that she had left it with him so her family would think she was going to school. He finds a lot of messages from Cyan asking to talk about the student who died. John realizes she was genuinely interested in what he had to say and in his story. He goes to wait outside her dorm to ask her about it. When she sees him, she lies and says, "He was with me at the archery club. I just wanted to know what happened to him." Then she walks away without explaining further. The next day in class, June starts experiencing side effects and feels weak. He runs out of class to the bathroom. Cyan sees him and follows to check on him, but then she notices blood coming from under the door. She panics and keeps calling out, but suddenly June walks out from another stall. When they break down the door, they find the short-haired girl inside, bleeding. June tries to save her and calls an ambulance. She's taken to the hospital and the police arrive, including the detective assigned to her brother's case. The detective talks down to Cyan and says, "I know you transferred here to investigate your brother's death. My advice? Focus on your studies and stay out of it." But Cyan doesn't care. She replies, "The police didn't do their job, so I'll do it myself. I won't rest until I find the criminal." She leaves and gets a message from the famous student. She's happy and goes to the meeting spot they agreed on, only to discover that the one waiting for her is actually her friend, not her brother's ex. Cyan realizes she's not his girlfriend because she had seen the real one's photo on his phone. The girl gives Cyan a name and says, "If you want to know the truth about the student who died, go meet this person at this place." Cyan goes and asks about her brother. The girl says, "He was a terrible person. I left school because of him. He used to bully me. When I heard what happened to him, I was glad. I felt like I finally got justice." Cyan is shocked and apologizes on his behalf, leaving the meeting confused and questioning whether she really knew her brother at all. Later, the famous student's friend visits the short-haired girl in the hospital. At this point, you might think I'm about to sing a sad song. But no, we'll continue normally. I'm just messing with you a little. She feels sorry for her, then goes to see Jun. We learn Jun had once saved her when a group of boys were bullying her. He stood up for her, beat them up, and told them if they came near her again, they'd regret it. He even made the leader apologize to her. Because of him, she regained her self-confidence. She tells Jun, "I know you need money for your mother's medical treatment. I have an offer. Get revenge on the bully and make him leave the school. I'll give you a lot of money." At first, Jun refuses, but later his relatives call and tell him that his mother's condition is worsening. He visits her and learns she needs surgery, but he can't afford it. Helpless and crying, he finally agrees to the offer. That night, Jun puts on a mask to hide his face, goes to the bully, hits him with a chair, injures his eye, and writes a note revealing the bully also had blackmail photos of girls and was planning to expose them. Jun beats him badly, tells him to apologize to all the girls he bullied, and demands he leave the school. The next morning, Jun is shocked to find Cyan in front of him. She sees blood on his shoes. He lies and says, "I got hurt during training at the archery club." Then he leaves. Later, Cyan visits her brother's grave. She stands in front of his picture, unsure whether he was a good person or a bully. At the same cemetery, Jun is visiting his brother's grave too. Sion hides until he leaves, but he suddenly returns and sees her. She finally confesses that she's the sister of the dead student and came to this school to find out the truth. She asks Jun to keep her secret because if the students find out who she is, they won't talk freely around her. Jun agrees and opens up about his brother too. He says, "He was bullied at school and couldn't take it. What happened just happened. When my mother saw him, she broke down. And since then, she's been in the hospital, unable to walk." Sion is deeply moved. They promise to keep each other's secrets. They return to school and see the bully in a wheelchair, withdrawing from school. All the students are overjoyed. They finally feel free. They celebrate and consider whoever did this a hero. One of the girls even visits the short-haired girl in the hospital and shows her a video of the bully to cheer her up. She tells her, "Justice was served. Get well soon so you can return to school. This time, you'll be safe." The next day, the detective comes to the school to investigate what happened. She checks the security cameras and sees Sion on a motorcycle near the scene. She thinks Sion must have seen the attacker. Meanwhile, Sion hears students talking about the hero who punished the bully. She remembers seeing Jun that day with blood on his shoes and rushes to his dorm. She searches his closet and finds the same bloody shoes. Suddenly, Jun arrives and nearly catches her, but his cat distracts him. She escapes unnoticed. When she returns home, the detective is waiting for her and shows her the camera footage, asking who the boy with her was. His face wasn't clear. Sion says it was Jun, but refuses to tell the full truth or show her the bloody shoes. The detective realizes she's hiding something. That night, the detective visits the club where Jun works and asks to speak with him. She gets into his car and asks about the night of the incident. She notices blood on his shoes, but Jun claims he knows nothing and leaves. The next day, Jun is surprised to find Sion waiting outside his dorm. She returns his shoes and apologizes for suspecting him. She tells him she didn't say anything to the detective, but Jun gets angry and tells her to stay out of his life. Then he leaves for school. She keeps following him, begging him to forgive her this time. The girl who likes John sees her and thinks she's being kicked out, so she goes to warn her to stay away from him or she'll regret it. But Sion replies coldly, "Speak to me properly, you little brat. I don't care about him or about you. Focus on yourself. It's better for you." That night, John is at work and tries to get rid of the clothes he was wearing when he beat up the bully. But he spots the detective at the club, gets nervous, and throws the clothes in the trash. He then finds out she's waiting for her husband. And when he arrives, John is shocked to see that he's the doctor in charge of his case. John hides because he doesn't want the detective to find out about his illness. The next day, Sion finds a note in her locker saying, "If you want to know the truth, meet me at the theater." She decides to go, but when she gets there, someone sneaks up behind her, hits her, knocks her out, and steals her phone. When Sion wakes up, she finds herself in the hospital with Young standing by her side. He says he saw her collapsed on the ground and was worried, and she also finds out he paid for her treatment. His father owns the hospital. She thanks him for everything and heads back to school. Meanwhile, inappropriate photos of the girl who likes John start spreading around the school. She thinks Sion is behind it, so she immediately goes to confront her and tries to hit her with a pen. But John steps in like a lion, stops her, takes Sion's hand, and walks away. All the students witness this and start thinking the two are in a relationship. Outside the classroom, John tells Sion to leave and go back to her old school because if she stays here, she might get hurt. But Sion refuses, saying, "I came here to find out the truth, and I won't leave until I get what I came for." She goes to the costume room and remembers that the person who hit her at the theater might have been the one who leaked the photos from her phone. She tells Young that she wasn't sick when she fell, that someone actually hit her. She asks him to check the surveillance cameras. Since he's wealthy, the principal lets him access the security room. He checks the footage and sees someone from behind but can't identify who it is. He tells Sion that whoever it was knew exactly where the cameras were and avoided them on purpose. Sion feels frustrated and discouraged. That night, as she's walking back, she sees the girl who likes John getting harassed by a group of people. Sion tries to defend her, but they gang up on her, beat her badly, and break the bones in her face. John sees the scene from the rooftop and rushes to help, but by the time he arrives, they're gone. Sion silently picks up her things and walks past him without saying a word, as if she doesn't even see him. When she gets back to her dorm, she finds inappropriate photos of herself posted on the wall. She tries to remove them, but the dorm owner comes and tells her to pack her things and leave. He doesn't want any trouble. She follows him, begging, saying she has nowhere else to go, but he insists. John shows up and tells her, "I warned you this would happen." He helps her and takes her to his own place. She's starving, so he buys her dinner, everything she likes. and even brings her ice cream like a true gentleman to cheer her up. Then he leaves her alone to rest while he goes to sleep at the club. Sion is touched by what he did and decides to repay his kindness. The next morning, she wakes up early, feeds his cat, and even makes him breakfast. She calls out to John, and he realizes she knows how to cook. He's impressed, and they eat together like a family. Then they get ready to head to school. Sion tells John she's going to work to help pay rent. At school, she finds another note in her locker from the mysterious person, asking her to meet at the theater again. She thinks it's another trap like last time, so she refuses to go. Meanwhile, the bully returns to school with two thugs, looking to get revenge on the person who beat him up. They barge into the basketball club and refuse to leave when Young asks them to. They push him to the ground. John shows up and tries to reason with them, but they try to hit him with a pen. They don't know who they're messing with. John gets angry and tells them, "You brought this on yourselves. If you summon the devil, be ready to deal with him." Then he fights them, using all his boxing skills. He's fast and strong, dodges all their attacks, breaks the arms that touched him, and knocks them to the ground. He warns them that if they bully anyone else again, they'll seriously regret it. At the same time, Sion finds out there's a school-wide seminar at the theater and decides to attend. The teacher starts playing a video to explain a lesson, but suddenly the screen switches to a video of her brother's accident. The students are shocked and scared, rushing out of the theater. Sion is stunned, but hides her emotions since no one knows the victim is her brother. Later, the detective sees the video and realizes it was no accident. Someone pushed him. Remembering what Sion said, she decides to reopen the case. Sion isolates herself, crying. When she returns to her dorm, she finds John waiting for her. He tries to comfort her, knowing what she's going through, but she pretends to be strong and brushes it off. She leaves him and goes to rest. The next day at school, Sion finds another note in her locker from the mysterious sender asking her to meet at the club this time. She decides to go. She wants to know who it is. She enters, scared, and senses someone behind her in the dark. When he appears, she asks, "Are you the one sending me the messages?" He replies, "Messages? No, I just saw you going in and followed you because I was worried." Suddenly, a masked person appears. When he sees them, he runs. They try to chase him, but he escapes. Later, the detective meets Sion and apologizes for not believing her from the beginning. She promises to get her justice. Sion asks her to search for her brother's phone. It must be with the criminal, and if they find it, they'll catch him. The detective starts interviewing students, including John. He was the first one to see what happened and call the police. After giving his statement, John visits his mother in the hospital, upset because it seems like she might die soon and leave him alone. Sion waits for him outside and asks him for a favor, to go with her to visit the family who adopted her brother and retrieve his things. He agrees. When they arrive, the adoptive mother gives her a bag of his belongings but talks badly about him, which angers John. He almost argues with her, but Sion calms him down. They return home, and when she opens the bag, she finds childhood photos of her and her brother. She's happy and starts remembering their time together. The next day, Sion manages to meet the popular student and asks her about her relationship with her brother. The girl replies, "There was nothing between us. We were pretending to be in a relationship." Of course, Sion was shocked because she had been lied to. They told her that he was already in a relationship. She remembers the photo her brother had sent her and goes to the restaurant where he always told her he used to sit, just to make sure. There, she meets a student working part-time. He tells her he knows her brother and sits with her, telling her about him. We see a flashback of that student in class. A bully kept harassing him, unfortunately because the student was an orphan. But Sion's brother saw this and decided to stand up for him. He fought with the bully and broke his nose, warning him that if he came near the student again, he'd regret it. After that, he started walking the student to school himself to protect him. He even told him that he too was an orphan and had a twin sister. Back in the present, the student tells her, "Your brother was a good guy. He saved me from bullying and I'll always be in debt to him." Sion is overjoyed that finally someone said something good about her brother. It motivates her to search for the truth. Then, Young goes to the club where June works to meet him. 3 guys show up wanting to pick a fight with Young, but when they recognize June, they back off, terrified. He's a professional martial artist. Naturally, because Young is a rich guy and doesn't like owing favors, he takes June to a racetrack and teaches him how to drive fast cars. This helps June feel better, and they have a nice time and grow closer. That night, Young thanks June, hugs him, and leaves. But then he finds his colleague waiting for him. She says, "I have a new mission for you." She tells him about a guy who, 2 years ago, tried to date a classmate. She rejected him, so he stalked her and eventually killed her. But because he was underage, he wasn't imprisoned, just released on bail. Back to the present, she asks Young to force him to apologize to the dead girl's mother. She even offers more money than the last time. June agrees. He needs the money for his mother's treatment after he dies. The next day, he puts on his mission clothes, goes to the guy's workshop, sneaks up from behind, and knocks him out. He ties him to a chair, blindfolds him, just like he did with the bully, and starts threatening him, saying he'll break his face if he doesn't cooperate. He politely asks the guy to go and apologize to the dead girl's mother, or else, terrified, the guy agrees to do it the next day. So June lets him go and goes home. But the next day, the police arrive at the workshop, and we learn the guy is dead. Cut to Seon, who goes to school and finds the student from the restaurant waiting for her. He tells her he was the one who left her notes in the locker and who shared the accident video. He says, "I wanted to bring everything back and make them investigate. I was there at the time of the accident, standing far away. I saw someone, but not clearly. I was scared to speak up because no one would believe me. But when I found out you were at this school, I decided to help you find the truth." Seon becomes sure someone did this to her brother and vows to catch and punish them. Meanwhile, June arrives at school and finds Young waiting. He's upset June didn't come yesterday as they agreed. June says, "I had something urgent, but I sent you a message." But when he checks his phone, he realizes the message didn't go through. He feels embarrassed and apologizes. Byung sees them together and feels jealous because his close friend is being taken away. We learn Byung is the class president, but he's clearly a little psycho and doesn't want Young to have other close friends. The detective arrives at the workshop, sees the dead body, and concludes the killer is the same person who attacked the bully. She resolves to catch him. At the same time, the girl who likes June discovers that Seon is the sister of the dead student, and that she's been lying to everyone. She starts shouting, but Seon doesn't stay quiet. She fights back. "I've been quiet for a long time. I may look cute, but I'm not that sweet." She turns into a wild beast, grabs her by the hair, and you know how girls fight. From above, below, right, left, smashes her face. The students are happy. No one stops it because everyone hates the bully girl. She gets beaten to a pulp like a zombie. After school, the popular girl goes to Seon and tells her, "Your brother was a kind person. He used to protect students from bullies. But then suddenly he changed, after becoming friends with the class president. I suspect the class president forced him to follow orders, like he was being threatened." Seon is shocked by this. Meanwhile, the rich girl who gives June money goes to see the mother of the dead girl to confirm whether the guy apologized. But she learns that the police found him dead in his workshop. She's shocked, assumes June did it. But June is just as shocked. He says, "I swear I didn't do anything. I'm innocent." Terrified, he thinks of turning himself in and telling the detective the truth. But he's scared no one will believe him, and he'll leave his mother alone in the hospital. He asks the rich girl not to tell anyone, and leaves. He goes back to the club but is surprised to find the detective waiting for him. She asks to search his locker. He panics but gives her the key. She doesn't find anything, just books. But she insists on searching his dorm locker too. She tells him to stay until she returns. But June is scared she might find the clothes he wore when he attacked the bully. So he escapes the club, hops on his motorcycle, and drives at full speed to beat her there. When he arrives, he finds her already there. She breaks open the locker, but of course finds nothing. June realizes the bag he had hidden is missing. Seon must have taken it after realizing he attacked the bully. Now, she suspects he's behind her brother's death. June finds a message she left. "If you want your bag back, come meet me." He realizes she took it and agrees to go. He arrives at an abandoned warehouse, calling out for her. Suddenly, Seon appears behind him with a stun gun. She demands to know his connection to her brother's accident. He's shocked. "No, I'm innocent. I didn't do anything." But she doesn't believe him and fires the gun. It hits his arm. June confesses, "Yes, I did attack the bully, but I had nothing to do with your brother's death." Suddenly, he grabs the stun gun, points it at his own head, and says, "If you really believe I'm capable of that, I'm ready to die right here." Seon is overwhelmed and doesn't know what to do. Suddenly, she gets a call from her brother's number. But when she answers, no one speaks. She hears a ringtone nearby, and then the call ends. That's when she realizes June is innocent. Someone else is the real criminal. Feeling guilty, she buys him medicine from the pharmacy and new shirts to replace the ones torn. She sincerely apologizes to him. June listens to her and even takes a picture with her. They sit by the ocean, watching the stars, clearly starting to like each other. Seon feels sleepy and dozes off. In that quiet moment, June's memories begin to return, and he remembers that he never actually had an accident. He tried to end his life, but doesn't remember what happened after. He just wants to confirm whether what's happening is really because of the accident that happened to the heroine's brother, but no one in his family is willing to tell him anything. So he decides to leave the house and find out the truth for himself. The next day, Cyan wakes up but doesn't find John. He's left her a note saying he went back to the city, but at the station he begins to show symptoms of his illness. He tries to hold himself together but gets dizzy and collapses. He's taken to the hospital. Meanwhile, the detective is looking for him. She goes to his dorm, thinking he's hiding from the police because he's a suspect. She goes to ask Cyan about him, but Cyan is harsh with her and says she doesn't know anything. The detective leaves, and Cyan becomes worried about John's disappearance. It's been a while. She goes to feed his cat, hoping he'll come back. Unfortunately, he still doesn't return, and he continues missing school. The teacher starts asking about him, but no one knows where he is. Young goes to his dorm to check on him and is surprised to find out that Xian is living with him. At the same time, the girl who likes John arrives and is shocked to see Cyan's clothes there. Jealous, she angrily storms off and tampers with the brakes on Cyan's bicycle, hoping to cause an accident. The next day, Cyan rides the bike to school but realizes on the way that the brakes aren't working. She panics, tries to slow down, and ends up throwing herself into garbage bins. She gets injured but suspects someone tampered with the bike. She takes it to a mechanic who confirms that the brakes weren't broken. Someone had deliberately cut the brake cable. This triggers her memories, and she suspects that whoever killed her brother is now trying to get rid of her too. She goes to school, grabs the microphone, and loudly announces to the criminal, "I'm still alive, and I won't stop until I catch you and get my revenge." Afterward, she goes to the clinic to treat her wounds. Her classmates visit her to check in, and she tells them she's okay. Later, she goes back to the dorm, only to find it in chaos. The glass is shattered and everything is out of place. At that time, the detective goes to visit her husband in the hospital and unexpectedly finds John there. She talks to him, learns that he's sick, and feels guilty for suspecting him. She promises not to tell anyone about his illness. Cyan starts tidying up the dorm and putting everything back in place. Suddenly, the doorbell rings. It's John. She's thrilled to see him. He asks about her injuries, but she reassures him. He doesn't tell her he was in the hospital, but apologizes for making her worry. He then invites her to go somewhere with him. They go to a place where they celebrate her birthday. She's overjoyed and asks how they knew. John says, "We know your brother's birthday, and since you're twins, it must be the same day." She blows out the candles and they all sing and dance, enjoying a wonderful time together. Then the class president arrives and asks Young to come with him because his family is worried. But suddenly, a phone rings. It's the same ringtone Cyan heard when she called her brother's phone. She tells John what she knows, furious and ready to confront the person responsible, but he calms her down and asks her to wait until they're sure. She promises not to act without telling him. They return to the dorm, and Cyan thanks him for everything. They plan to steal the class president's phone to confirm the ringtone. John agrees to help and apologizes for not getting her a birthday present. She jokes, saying she wants the lace from his sneakers. John gets nervous. The lace belonged to his mother, and he put it on his shoes to feel like she's still walking beside him. Although it's his most treasured item, he washes it and gives it to her as a gift the next day. She's touched and thanks him, putting it on her own shoes and walking to school with a smile. At school, they start executing their plan. John's admirer creates a distraction by picking a fight with the class president. Meanwhile, John grabs his phone and rushes to the bathroom to check it, only to discover it's not the same phone. The class president had a different one yesterday. John is frustrated, but just then the class president calls his own phone. He had put a tracker on it to find its location. He realizes it's in the bathroom, and John panics. He hides in another stall until the president leaves. But when he comes out, the class president catches him and realizes he was the one who took the phone. That night, John heads home and feels like someone is following him. In a dark alley, someone attacks him, but John manages to dodge the blows, and they both fall. When John removes the attacker's mask, he realizes it's the guy who works at the restaurant. John takes him back to the dorm, and Cyan treats the wound on his face. She asks why he did it, and he says, "I wanted revenge for your brother." She replies, "But John has nothing to do with it. I'm sure the real criminal was trying to frame him." They agree to team up and make the criminal pay. The next day, John goes to talk to the girl who likes him. She's actually the class president's sister. He asks her to help him study. She's overjoyed and invites him to her house to make Cyan jealous. Cyan pretends to be upset and goes to the archery club, asking Young to help her set up a meeting with the class president. Their plan works. John goes to study with her, And when he finds no one else at the house, he sneaks into the brother's room to search for evidence. At the same time, the class president is waiting for Sion in a cafe, but she's across the street watching him. It's all part of the plan to keep him distracted so John can search freely. But the girl who likes John posts a picture of the food with a caption saying she's eating with him, just to annoy Sion. The class president sees the photo and pieces everything together. He rushes home. Meanwhile, the detective is reviewing the workshop's surveillance footage and sees the class president entering. She decides to go arrest him, now convinced he's the suspect. The class president reaches home just as John is coming out of his room. He gets angry, fights with John, and pins him to the ground, ready to hit him with a vase. But the detective arrives just in time and arrests him. John returns to the dorm and tells Sion what happened, but suddenly he gets a phone call. He finds out that his mother has relapsed, so he rushes to the hospital to check on her. The doctor informs him that she has fallen into a coma, and in order to keep her alive, she must remain on life support. However, the costs are high, and he has to pay regularly. Otherwise, they'll have to remove the machines, and we all know what that means. John is devastated because he doesn't have the money. He pleads with the doctor to keep her on the machines, promising to find a way. John is overwhelmed by helplessness and sinks into depression. Sion is heartbroken to see him suffer and cries because he's on the verge of losing everything, and she can't do anything to help. Left with no choice, John goes to his contact, the girl who used to give him missions, and tells her he's willing to do anything, as long as he gets money. She refuses at first, worried because the police already suspect him, and she begs him to wait until things calm down. But he ignores her advice, feeling like he has no other option to cover the hospital expenses. Meanwhile, the popular student finds out what's going on and offers to help him. She tells him to take out the bully, promising he'll get a big payout from the father of the girl being bullied. John reluctantly agrees. That night, he puts on his mission clothes and heads to where the bully is staying, thinking he's alone. He sneaks in, ready to finish the job, but it turns out to be a trap. Cameras are hidden everywhere, recording his every move. We get a flashback to 2 days earlier that reveals how this was all set up. The class president had met with the bully and told him, "I suspect the person who attacked you is John." He then proposed a plan to lure and capture him. He asked the bully to go back to harassing the short-haired girl to provoke John again. The bully agreed. Meanwhile, the class president created a fake email account and uploaded an embarrassing picture of his own sister, which quickly went viral among the students. Everyone started following the account, but his sister was furious and demanded he take it down. He promised to delete it in 2 days. Then, the bully approached the short-haired girl and repeated the same cycle of harassment, calling her names and saying she looked like a boy. He kept pressuring her, asking who had attacked him, but she just cried and said she didn't know anything, then ran away. She told her father what had happened and begged him to move them to another city because she couldn't take it anymore. Her father was deeply affected and promised to handle the person who hurt her. All of this, of course, was part of the class president's plan. The president then told the bully everything was going smoothly and informed him that John would come to him that night. He told the bully to let John hit him, so they could catch him in the act. The bully agreed. The next day, John followed the bully to find out where he lived, unaware that the class president was already one step ahead. He had set up cameras everywhere and was even planning to live stream everything through the fake account to publicly shame John. Back in the present, John arrives that night, ready to attack the bully. But at the same time, his mother dies at the hospital. The doctors try to contact John to inform him, but his phone is off. Unable to reach him, they call Sion and tell her the news. She's devastated and starts searching everywhere for John, but can't find him. She even contacts his friends to ask if they've seen him. The popular student finally confesses everything, telling Sion that John went to confront the bully. Sion is shocked. At the same time, the class president starts his live stream to expose John, and everyone begins watching. Unfortunately, everything unfolds as planned. John arrives and the fight begins. He hits the bully. Suddenly, the class president barges in laughing, thinking his plan has worked. He pulls off John's mask to reveal his identity to the entire school. But to his shock, it's not John at all. It turns out John knew about the trap. He decided to sacrifice himself to save his friend. Meanwhile, we see John actually in the car with Sion, crying on the way to the hospital after hearing about his mother's death. A flashback reveals how Sion and her friends managed to reach him in time, warned him about the setup, and told him about his mother. So instead of walking into the trap, Young put on John's clothes to ruin the class president's plan. The police arrive, arrest everyone involved, and take them to the station for questioning. The class president tries to explain it was all just a joke and the live stream was for entertainment. The detective knows he's lying, but is forced to release them because there's no concrete evidence. The next day, John holds a funeral for his mother. All the students show up to support him. The detective and her husband speak with John and offer their help, telling him to reach out if he ever needs anything. Later, John sits with his friends and thanks them for saving him. They go to visit his mother's grave, where they also discover Sion's brother is buried. They visit his grave too, all feeling emotional. They begin to suspect that the class president is behind her brother's death and agree to work together to find proof and bring him to justice. Back at school, the class president confronts Young, accusing him of betrayal for helping John. But Young responds that he no longer trusts him and feels like the president is hiding something, taking advantage of his memory loss. The president gets angry and says, "If you knew what I did for you, you'd thank me," then storms off. Later, Sion decides to take John to the beach to help him relax after his mother's death. She talks about her brother and how they used to come here together during the holidays. The moment helps lift John's spirits. They watch the sunset and spend a beautiful evening together. She invites him to dinner and orders his favorite food. John is genuinely happy with her. Meanwhile, we see the class president return home, where his father scolds him and takes his phone away, warning him not to start another live stream or he'll leave him to rot in jail. The next day, Sion talks to Young and asks him to get the class president to open up, since he's the only one who knows the full truth. Young agrees. They meet at the school theater, and Young asks him to explain what happened before he lost his memory. The class president agrees and begins to reveal everything. He says, "You didn't actually fall by accident. You were pushed, but it wasn't your fault." Then we see Sion secretly standing behind the curtain, recording everything. She's shocked and can't believe her brother could do something like that. Young, stunned, asks the president, "If you saw what happened, why didn't you tell the police or my family?" The class president says, "There was a reason I couldn't." And just as he's about to reveal it, the teacher walks in on them. As the teacher tells them to return to class, they bump into John on the way back. The class president starts provoking him, mentioning his mother. John loses his temper and lunges at him, ready to hit him, but suddenly he feels weak. Symptoms of his illness start showing and he collapses. At the same time, Sion is walking by, still shaken by what she heard earlier. When she sees the ambulance taking John away, fear grips her. She runs after them and insists they take him to the hospital where his primary doctor is. She rides with him, staying by his side until the doctor examines him and assures her he's stable, but advises her to leave so John can rest. That night, Sion can't stop thinking about everything she's learned. She's confused and torn, unsure of what to do. Meanwhile, John dreams of sitting with his mother and brother, both gone. But suddenly, they vanish, and he's left shouting their names, waking up in tears. He finds himself in the hospital. The doctor tells him Sion stayed by his side all night. When John is discharged, he tries calling her, but her phone is off. Confused, he checks his phone and finds a video message she left. In it, Sion tells him she's decided to give up. She's going back to her hometown and no longer wants to know who the criminal is, because even her brother seemed like one. She thanks John for everything he's done and says this is the last time he'll see her. Her final request: take care of yourself. Heartbroken, John runs to the dorms to stop her, but he's too late. She's already left, and the only thing she left behind is a shoelace. Furious, John realizes it was all a setup, something the class president orchestrated to crush Sion's hope and stop her from digging deeper. Determined to get answers, he goes to confront him. He arrives to find the class president with the bully, overhearing them plotting to get rid of him once and for all. He kicks the door in. The bully opens it, only to get slapped hard. John storms in and faces the class president, who is clearly terrified. He grabs a stick to defend himself, but John mocks him, saying the stick is better used as a toothpick. He beats him down, blow after blow, demanding a confession. Before things go too far, Young arrives just in time and stops him. Meanwhile, Sion is sitting alone by the beach, remembering her brother. She looks at an old photo of them from a year ago and notices the date. It was the same day Young had his accident and lost his memory. That means her brother couldn't have pushed him. He was with her all day. She realizes the class president was lying. Her brother was innocent. Sion immediately calls John and asks to meet. They rush to see her. She shows them the photo and explains everything. Everyone is stunned. It confirms the class president's lie. On their way back to the dorm, John gives her back the shoelace and tells her to keep it. Holding her hand, he tells her how happy he is she came back. They take a walk together and John decides to confess his feelings. Just as the moment turns romantic, a car pulls up out of nowhere. The bully jumps out with a gang of thugs. John tries to fight back but is blindsided. Someone stabs him in the side. They drag him into the car. Sion screams and tries to follow, but they shove her to the ground and threaten her. If she tells the police, she's next. Terrified but determined, she calls Young and tells him everything. He tells her to go to the dorms. He'll handle it. That night, while Young sleeps, memories start flooding back. He dreams of the accident and sees who pushed him. It's revealed to be the class president. He wakes up in shock and rage, now fully remembering everything. He calls Sion and tells her he knows where John is. Young explains he had planted a tracker in the class president's bag, suspecting him all along. The tracker leads them to the place where John is being held. The bully has John tied to a chair, beating him to get a false confession about killing Sion's brother. But John refuses to admit to something he didn't do. The class president, losing control, starts torturing him. Just then, Young's crew, actual mafia types, burst in, take down the gang, and rescue John. The thugs panic, realizing they've messed with someone powerful. Young arrives, checks on John, and then confronts the class president. He tells him he remembers everything now. He knows it was him who tried to kill him, but he'll deal with him later. They get John out before the police arrive. Meanwhile, Sion goes to the police station and meets the detective. She tells her that someone called her from her brother's phone and she suspects the class president. She asks the detective to trace the call. Suddenly, another officer enters with a breakthrough. The killer of the boy at the workshop, the event that led to her brother's accident, was left-handed. That clears John since he's right-handed. Sion is overjoyed. She rushes to John and tells him the news. He reacts with mixed emotions, remembering that he once saw Young use his right hand, but also his left. Something doesn't add up. They rewatch the video of her brother's incident, studying it closely. They finally notice that the killer used his left leg to push him. That means it wasn't the class president. They now suspect Young. They come up with a plan to confirm it. The next day, they go to a mobile store and buy a phone identical to Sion's brother's. John visits Young, while Sion puts the plan in motion. She sends Young a picture of the fake phone and claims she found her brother's. She says she's close to uncovering the truth. John observes Young growing nervous. His expression shifts, and he suddenly switches to using his left hand. He becomes someone else entirely. Young abruptly says he has an urgent errand and drives off. He heads to his horse stables and digs into an old box, finally pulling out Sion's brother's real phone. He was the killer all along, but John appears behind him. He followed him and saw everything. He demands the truth. Before Young can react, the class president shows up and knocks John out, claiming he came to save Young. He pleads with him, "Let's start over and be friends again." But Young loses it. He shouts, "You're the reason for everything that's happened. You took advantage of the fact that I lost my memory. You lied to me. You made me believe that Sion's brother was the one who pushed me. And you made me push back too." They start fighting fiercely. Meanwhile, Sion is worried sick about John. She tries calling him, but he doesn't answer. Eventually, John wakes up, goes to her, and tells her everything. They realize that Young has her brother's necklace, which means he's the one who killed him. Suddenly, the police find a car abandoned near the beach, but no one is inside. They search everywhere for Young, but he's completely disappeared, like he vanished into thin air. Since John was the last person to see Young, he's brought in for questioning. He tells them everything he knows. Later, he sits with Sion, and she's crushed. She says, "I'm sure Young disappeared to run away from his crime." She suspects the class president might know where he is. She goes to meet the class president and apologizes for ever doubting him. She slowly gains his trust, coaxing him into talking, until he finally confesses that he was the one who hit John in the stable. But she had been recording him the whole time. Just as she tries to send the recording to the detective, he snaps. Furious, he tries to take revenge. He wants her to join her brother in the afterlife. At the same time, John meets the girl who likes him. He gives her a tracking device and asks her to secretly put it in her brother's bag, just in case he meets Young. She agrees to help. When she gets home and plants the tracker, Young suddenly walks in. She panics and says she was looking for her phone to delete some photos. The next day, while she's at work, she spots Young passing by. She immediately calls Sion and tells her where he is. Sion grabs her air pistol and sets off to take justice into her own hands. She doesn't tell John. She doesn't want to put him in danger. She tracks Young to the yacht where he's hiding. When she sees him, she points the gun and demands answers. He's shocked to see her but confesses everything. He tells her he has two personalities, the kind Young she knows, and another, the vengeful personality of his twin brother who died when they were young. Ever since then, he's been living in a constant inner war. "When I lost my memory," he says, "the class president lied to me. He made me believe your brother pushed me. And that's when my brother's personality took over and killed him. I swear I'm sorry. I know no apology will ever be enough. I remember everything now, and I'm still trying to process it. Suddenly, his expression changes. His brother's dark personality takes over. He lunges at Sion. She drops the gun and he breaks her bones in the struggle. When she regains consciousness, she sees that he's flipped the situation. He's the one in control again. Sion desperately tries to talk to the real Young, the one she knows. She begs him to resist his brother's influence. He laughs cruelly and starts telling her the whole truth about every crime he committed. He recalls the day he was going to meet John and saw him leaving the workshop. He followed him in, found a tied-up boy inside, and assumed that boy was the one responsible. His brother's personality took over again, and he killed him just to cover his tracks. Sion keeps talking to him, trying to reach the real Young buried deep inside. Finally, she succeeds. He returns to himself. When he sees how badly she's hurt, he's overwhelmed with guilt. He grabs the gun and points it at himself, wanting to protect her from his other side. But she runs toward him and stops him just in time, taking the gun away. Young collapses in tears. He decides to turn himself in. The detective arrives and arrests him. Because of his psychological condition, he's granted a lighter sentence. Sion has finally uncovered the truth and restored her brother's name. She breaks down crying. She had waited so long for this moment. But of course, the story doesn't end there. Back at school, John receives a message from the girl who liked him, asking to meet him on the rooftop. When he gets there, he's shocked. She tells him she's going to end him. She knows he found out she was helping track Young. "I don't care who you are. Even if you were my brother, I wouldn't forgive you," she snaps. "But I'm willing to cut you a deal. Get on your knees right now and I'll consider it." He does it. He kneels and apologizes. But just when her guard is down, he attacks. They start fighting, and eventually, John overpowers her. The class president tries to intervene, but trips and flies off the edge. And finally, dear viewer, we're free of him. The students are terrified by what happened. They see John on the rooftop and assume he was responsible. Sion learns what happened and rushes to help. She sends a message to all the students. John is the hero who stood up to the bullies. He's the one who always helped you. John is someone to be proud of. The students rally behind him and agree to testify. The detective starts collecting statements. Strangely, no one mentions anything incriminating about John. They all say the class president tripped. Even his own sister testifies that John was trying to save her. With that, the detective closes the case. Days pass. The school year ends with the graduation ceremony. Everyone is smiling in group photos. Everyone except John, who isn't there. He's at the hospital, preparing for surgery to remove the tumor in his brain. All the students support him and encourage him to come back. They're waiting for him, because to them, he's a hero. Their words move him deeply. His will to live returns. He goes to see Sion, who has finally achieved her dream. She's been accepted into the Navy as an officer. He takes her hand. We learn they're now engaged and have decided to start their life together after he completes his surgery and recovers, God willing. And so, the series ends with a happy ending. Not like the ones we're used to, dear viewers, but a truly unique one. So don't forget to like and subscribe. You've really been slacking, and I'm genuinely upset about it.